Versus this former team seems to be. What we're talking about here is the players take off.
They're in the dugout here, just behind the stage, going to walk on very shortly. This is the apex of the backstage area before you actually walk into LOL Park. I'm sure they're just getting used to the fact that there are cameras in the backstage now. I'm sure we're going to see some pretty great, grimaces and other sorts of threats in future match days. Reminds me of when we used to have the featured players in the OGN broadcast, and we got some fun little messages between each other. But it's the first day. This is all new to all of us. So thank you so much for joining us all around the world. First day of LCK Spring 2019. Let's get those players into LOL Park.
Yeah, you can see walking around now to the opposing sides. No booths anymore here in the LOL Park. A very different experience for these players who played in multiple stadiums last year.
And multiple teams when we're talking about SK Telecom T1. Fittingly, they are the first team to be introduced to the fans here at LOL Park. You're seeing the starting lineup in front of you, so no substitute players are on stage right now. They're sticking with what worked at Kesper Cup. Khan, Klid, Faker, Teddy, and Mata is the starting roster, and the drafting coach will be Zephyr, who came over from the Afrika Freaks and famously was the drafting coach of the Korean national team.
He was also very, very strong and had some great ideas, especially early on in 2018. So excited to see what he can do now with such massive weapons on the side of SKT. And now the Daiso squad that you talk about, Jin Air, it's time to welcome them here to the LOL Park stage for 2019, making their debut in their brand new outfits. No longer do we have the schoolboy tie printed on these shirts.
And we have to reiterate that there are no common players with Jin Air last year starting in game number 1 because Grace is not the starting mid laner. They have decided to also not start Nova, so they have 3 unique kind of debuts here when it comes to the bottom side of the map. Malrang coming back, of course, does have LCK experience, played on Everett Winners, and Linderong was top laner of Hanwha Life Esports. But they're mixing things up, going with Chongo, Rout, and Kellen. In the starting roster, you have to assume this is the best roster that they put together when it came to Kesper Cup. But speaking of rosters, as we mentioned, Kesper Cup, and we saw it in the bot lane from Viper in the Kesper Cup final.
Yeah, exactly right. People have been playing it a lot in solo queue as well. The Urgot does still stand tall, was definitely high priority in the LPL as we saw on this patch, but extraordinarily high priority for Khan and for SKT in the Kesper Cup.
And maybe SKT will go with what worked in the Kesper Cup and say, well, guess what? Both of the Aftershock abusing mid laners are available. Lissandra and Galio, you can get one of them. You can't necessarily get both. But with the Urgot already locked in, they can guarantee an Aftershock mid laner if they want to play that similar style. On the side of Jin Air here, Zyra Khan. Now, Khan is actually the most banned champion by Griffin in the Kesper Cup. A lot of respect shown to potential engage available there. Saw some slight nerfs being considered around the PBE and around the recent patches, but Rakan will be the first pick here from Jin Air and their new duo lane. Remember, guys, it is not Nova, it is not going to be Grace in the starting lineup here. It is Root and Kellen as this very young duo who are being allowed to debut together and preferred over Stitch and Nova.
And Jin Air have decided to go with the Ultra Engage combo of the Rakan Galio. The Gargoyle delivery system is certainly set up here for Jin Air, and I'm actually surprised that Kellen didn't go for his Thresh. His Thresh was fantastic, roamed very, very early when we first saw him make his debut. He did partake in what was the worst dive of all time on that champion. However, still was able to do some pretty fantastic things to get them through at the later stages of that game. The Ezreal to be locked in here for Teddy, and they're going to pair it up with the Tahm Kench. Pretty standard, what was a Gen G combo, now turned into what feels like an SKT combo.
It's definitely the safety-first duo on the blue side here for SKT. Jin Air, they're actually considering going for a much more risky lane here with the Rakan and Kai'Sa, the out-of-lane specialists rather than in-lane specialists. Not like Ezreal and Tahm have kill pressure, but they definitely will.
Considering what he wants to do to round this one out, Lee Sin is still available and something that Klid showed incredible mastery on in the LPL and also in the Kesper Cup.
You are both a prophet and right on the money, Atlas, because Klid's Lee Sin to me is the cleanest in the world. He makes someone like Flawless look flawed on the Lee Sin. He is fantastic on that pick. But it does mean they had to blind pick jungle, and jungle matchups, if you're not going tank versus tank, can be a lot more swingy. We're getting Lee Sin versus Xin Zhao here, as the Xin Zhao, which was disabled for the majority of Kesper Cup, is back and allows for a very aggressive option If I look at this duo, if we do end up with Victor mid lane, you have to expect that Malrung and Chongo are going to be focusing on killing Faker again and again, but we'll know at 20 seconds if it's Faker on Urgot or Faker on Victor.
Exactly, and I mean, this is what your brain tells you, is that it's going to be the classic Victor top, but Faker has played so much Victor in his time, and Khan as well is the Urgot play. You have to wait for that one to tick down before we'll know. Theoretically, on the side of Jinner, it's the same thing, but no swaps are going to come in. That's going to be Khan on the Victor top lane. The Urgot in the mid lane for Faker there as well. And I want to go over to the other side. You talk about the cleanest Lee Sin. Well, as far as Xin Zhao players are concerned, you may think of the Jace for Malrung because he was the one that debuted it. However, this guy on an aggressive go-in jungler, that is the essence of how Malrung managed to get such an MVP status when he did first promote into the LCK with ever 8 winners. Excited to see what they're going to be able to do, because I feel like both teams got exactly... Malrung, once again, going to stand out of the brush, but slightly out of vision range. Show us the Hail of Blades, Malrung! Yeah, Khan is going to get slowed down. The flash over the gravity field. Can he actually escape this? The Hail of Blades does a lot of damage, but not quite enough. Red Ball burns down! And he picks it up. Already had the skill.
Ezreal Tom Kench comps work is they are so good in mid lane.
Well, there's the grand entrance. We've got the heroic entrance to come down as well, but the combination not quite enough. Clid grabs that first kill, sacrifices himself, but able to get one back after all of those ultimates is certainly a big deal. Chongo now up against Faker and the rest of the team as well. That Justice Punch looked real interesting, but it wasn't enough to get him out of dodge. And that's going to be 2 going over to SKT.
And we're surprised to see that engaged by Jinner, because we already mentioned the bot side is their weak side of the map. They're playing around the fact that Kai'Sa and Rakan have no lane presence. They try for a desperate all-in, like you say, probably the first grand entrance and quickness of the game.
Yeah.
And yet it's easily turned around as top side.
Well, Khan's the golden boy, and Linderung got made to look a little bit foolish. However, certainly still has a massive lead when it comes to the health bar. Khan can't get out of that one. Just a single charge on the decimating smash finishes him off, and Faker now just cleans up minions. Can't get onto the Scion.
Linderung won't get a free recall, but he will get a free kill. Solo kill on the top side. Big moment for Linderung. No cancelling of TPs in the 2019 meta, as the visual bugs are just on our side, guys. That's just a spectator bug rather than anything the players are facing, thankfully, so we'll have to laugh about the funny moments. We watched the replay here. We weren't anticipating an attempt at an all-in because, again, the Kai'Sa doesn't get involved here till very, very late, and after the wombo, they have no safe way to escape because they don't have priority hiding up towards the mid lane or going towards the bot lane. They separate, and 2 for 1 is the kill trade for SKT.
Yep, Chongo just sacrifices himself. The call was not to go in, otherwise the Kai'Sa would have probably gone down as well. So, good guy.
Push back, and inevitably, it's not there anymore, but we'll hold the macro points because we might have a team fight.
Yeah, fight coming in here as Malrung does have that ultimate running. The stopwatch is down as Linderung makes his way into this fight as well. This is the Jinner composition. This is what they want to do, but Linderung is just getting soloed out. No one else making their way in. The Chaos Storm just destroying Jinner's bottom lane as Kellen existed once, but no longer. The fight continues on the top side. It is straight front to back from SKT, and the Zombie Scion cannot do anything. Jinner just couldn't pull a trigger.
Clid looking for an exit kill on route. Will he hit this one?
Can he find it? Yes, he does. Oh, it was almost a bait, but who was baiting? Who was Clid goes golden. Linderung gets hit by the Q. Can he do it?
Oh!
Follows it through. He even gave Teddy the time to get the kill if he wanted to. Missed it. And then Clid able to follow up with a resonating strike. This is why you don't let him play the Lee Sin.
There's no Lee Syndrome problems with Clid. It's a Clint Syndrome, baby. Every time I see him, I want to see him lock in that Lee Sin. Really nice kick there to finish it all off. And the thing for Jinner was they were all front row for the initiation.
The go button, but no, they don't have an AD carry for this fight. Now they don't have a Scion. He is definitely dead. Teddy pops over the wall once again. And that is basically 2 picks for the price of 1, because that is a Kai'Sa having to go back, and they might be able to get some damage on this inhibitor turret.
Sadly, has mistook the go button for the mute button, ended up going at the wrong time there, so just easily tip it a lot of its short range. Here's the all-in!
Here we are! That's a 4-man quickness to start this one off. Could this be the team fight they're looking for? Is already Mato has fallen down. SKT, they do not want to bar of it. As Fear Beyond Death just takes down Root. There's nothing that this Kai'Sa can do against this comp by the looks of things, and they're trying to get more. Chongo just goes the wrong way, gets picked off, and SKT, that looked like a fight they couldn't win, but still they're able to do it. Khan getting the Chaos Storm in there, pulled back onto the gravity field, and he'll go down to his zombie form, and I feel like the rest of the team may follow.
Jin Air finally pull off the execution the coach would have been looking for from the draft, but it's 10,000 gold behind. All of the damage still available on SKT, and they will win the game here.
I think that might have been a Sheen proc that took Kellen down to that low health bar, but Faker flash sustaining him. They want to get the kills before they finish off this Nexus. Half the health bar now. Root wants to try and get rid of it, but we've already gone picture-in-picture, and SKT take game 1 of LCK 2019.
SKT understood their team comp and played safe. Yes, there was some deaths on the top side, but they were scaling until the point where they were ready to turn on, and from that point, they closed the door on Jin Air, ended up being a comfortable pre-30-minute victory, and in summation, SKT did what they needed to. It wasn't maybe as explosive in the early game, but their fans will give them a pass this one time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And of course, you just wouldn't expect anything else from this composition. If it was a close game, you know that SKT fans would be disappointed. So this is about the result that you could expect and be happy with for SKT, because it was so clean. It was so controlled, and it was by the book. They looked at the composition, they did what they